Yeah, so I keep hearing like wildly different opinions on Chipp. So Lord Knight just put out his latest tier list, and Chipp was like S tier essentially. Like I think he had an S plus, but Chipp was like high tier. He was like second to the highest tier. But then a lot of people are like, "Oh man, you play Chipp? That character's like down bad." And so I wanted to give my thoughts on where Chipp is this season, and why I think he's there. Not to bury the lead too much, but I think Chipp's probably somewhere in between Lord Knight and what random people on Reddit are telling me. I think he's fine. I think he's good. But I think he's one of 3 characters after the last big patch that's objectively worse. I think the 3 characters are him, Gold Lewis, and Axel. But I don't think any of them are like so much worse that you can't play them. Like I still think they're fine. I actually think Chipp's good. We just have to play him a little differently. And the reason that I said that is that in the last patch, he really liked to be mid-screen. And the reason for that is because Alpha Blade on hit let you get a jump dust. And in doing so, it actually set them up for a pretty perfect left-right 50-50. Now, if you hit an Alpha Blade, you essentially get this. Not our guard after first hit. So essentially, you get this if you hit a raw Alpha Blade. And it's set to counter hit because he's set to wake up throw. My bad. But yeah, so you can, and I think you might be able to cross up if you do it early enough. Nope. So you're able to continue your pressure, but you're really not able to. There's no mix there, right? Find a clip of that. And that was like pretty key to his gameplay. So essentially, he wanted to be mid-screen, right? He had better mix-up options mid-screen. And additionally, that made it so that he really wanted to break the wall, right? Like he really wanted to break the wall, because it supplemented his damage too. But now for 2 reasons, the main one being he no longer gets that 50-50 off of the upwards Alpha Blade, and the fact that he just like has more consistent damage. He doesn't really need to break the wall anymore. In fact, I think he's like pretty incentivized not to break the wall. So for instance, this mix here, into whatever you want to do. That's like a true 50-50 along the wall, and it's really strong. I think you're like much more incentivized this patch to go for that than you are to like try to break the wall or anything like that. Now, granted, there's one pretty big issue with this, and that's that upwards Alpha Blade does a ton of damage to the wall. So even if the wall is damaged like a little bit, upwards Alpha Blade is just going to wall break. Or like splat them to the wall. So you kind of have to do that in situations where there's no damage or very little damage to the wall, and that's pretty situational. But that being said, like Chipp has other options here too. If a wall is a little bit of damage, you can go for like the first hit of Rensho into this, and it's not a true 50-50. Actually, it's just not 4-way mix. You don't get left-right, but you do get high-low, and also it just continues your pressure, which, I mean, say what you want. People even offline are still going to get hit by stuff like that. Like, so just being able to, or this, like people will get hit by that. So just being able to continue your pressure is going to be pretty key in the corner. The other thing that I think is pretty important, off of 2D, just using the wall to your advantage, like you can get, that's a true 50-50. Yes, they can anti-air it, but they have to be pretty on it with their anti-airs in order to do that. You can also do, stuff like that. Just little gimmicks. You can also do this in pressure, so. And you're back into pressure. So truly, I think this season is the season for Chipp to use the wall. That's like my main crux of my argument. The main reason for putting out this video is like, if you want to play Chipp the same way, it's going to be pretty hard for you, because the reality is in this patch, if you're going to send it back to neutral and consistently break the wall, you're going to have to win neutral like 3 to 4 to 5 times, which for Chipp can be difficult. I know he has good neutral tools, like Far Slash is good, 2S is good, and they have run momentum as well. 2D is good in neutral and other things like that, but still, that's a lot of times to win neutral, especially when your opponent only has to hit you like twice to 3 times, right? Like a Nagoriyuki, for instance, only has to hit you twice. And so for that reason, like you losing neutral and then, guessing wrong on wake up, whatever it is, could be your life bar. And so you really want to minimize the amount of times you have to win neutral. And a good way of doing that is just like taking full advantage of the wall. And I think if you're able to do that, I think Chipp is a good character still. But like I mentioned, if you're not able to do this and you're just playing Chipp like you did last season, I think you're going to feel some significant nerfs to Chipp. If you are playing him from full screen, he's really hurt by the changes to flawless defense. He gets pushed so far back that even like both hits of Rensho on a normal block string won't hit. Like this. Notice how that first hit of Rensho just on his normal block string like barely hits. Or if you just do this, like look at this, his kicks are a great way of staggering and everything. You can't even get 3 kicks. And so if you're trying to do something like that, if they're faultless defensing, they're gonna be able to punish you pretty easily. So, all that being said, just the moral of the story is I think Chipp's still good. I think though you really have to change kind of your mindset of how you're going to play Chipp, right?